som stilte spørsmål, så det din tur.
Hi, my name is Anna Blix, and I'm an artist, like I believe you are. But I just have a question to the question the first man had. Do you think it's better to have a dialogue with people like him, or do you think it's better to laugh at him, like most of the crowd did?
We should have a what?
Do you think it's right do you think it's best to discuss with people like the parapsychologist in the Striped Shirt, or is it best to laugh at him?
No, never laugh at these people. If they believe in their hearts, they really believe that something is there, we will examine it. We accept all of these challenges. We never back away from them. Now, I'll give you one example of the dirty techniques and politics that are practiced, however. There is in Greece a man named Vitulcus. Vitulcus is a famous homeopath, and he has claimed in print and on the internet and in books and articles and on television that I will not test him for his ability at homeopathy. That is a lie. He has simply refused to sign the agreement on the challenge. He will not sign it because he says, no, I'm too important to sign papers like that. Well, he may think he's too important, but he's not too important to me. He's just another homeopath. And he lies when he says that he has been refused being tested by the James Randi Educational Foundation. So there's that kind of politics in this thing too.
My name's Danielle, I'm from Australia, and I was just wondering what your foundation is, if it's got any sort of a goal to combat government, or to bring up with governments allowing people to study under alternative medicines and giving them a degree, in effect giving them credence, and in that, and allowing people to study and gain an education, and other people believing that that is a science.
Well, the James Randi Educational, thank you for your question, was set up 11 years ago now. It was set up to be an exchange, information exchange, for academics, for the media, for people who are just curious about these various questions about the paranormal, the occult, and the supernatural. And we have students coming in there, and again, just plain curious people who sit in our library and do research, and the media are always sending people in to do research in our home in Fort Lauderdale. So this is a research facility, and that's why we are there. We're not saying these things don't exist. We're saying that if you say they do exist, win our $1 million. That's the first thing. The second thing is, come and make use of all the facilities we have. We have a library with over 4,000 books in it. 4,000 books from all over the world and in many different languages. And we share that freely with every person who is seeking information. So.
Hi James, my name is Chris. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and growing up in Norway...
I'm not responsible for that.
No, I know. And growing up the way Norway is changing now, with the focus on all this alternative medicine, I want her to grow up as a critical thinker. And what do you think is the most important tool or a lesson I can teach her to become a good critical thinker?
Well, ask her this question very frequently. When she sees something on television or somebody tells her something, she hears it on radio, just turn to her and say, do you think that's true? And if she says one way or the other, you ask her why she has answered that way. Get her thinking about these things, and tell her from the very beginning that many things that are told to her and taught to her are not necessarily true. There are people out there that will deceive you for various purposes, either because they're ignorant themselves, or they don't know any better, or because they're trying to sell you on some sort of an idea, a religious idea, a philosophical idea, an idea about some sort of product or treatment. There are people out there who will deceive, particularly young folks. You just tell her to wonder about each one of these things and come to you and ask questions. That's the secret. Be trusted by your children, and make sure your children are not afraid to ask questions, and that they don't believe things because it's just politically correct to do so. And don't you believe it for that reason either. Not because it's politically correct. Ask your questions.
I'm Robert. I just have a question. Do you ever regret how much more you could earn if you joined the woo-woos, as you call them? You could even be at opera each week.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
No. Do you regret how much more you could earn if you joined the woo-woos?
Oh,
And you could be at on opera each week.
I could have been a professional fork bender or spoon bender and done very much better than I have, I can tell you that. But that would mean being dishonest with people. I can't do that. As a magician, yes, I lie to people left and right. But I never tell them that I have psychic powers, that I have real supernatural powers. I tell them at the end of every one of my performances, and I think this is important. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've seen me do here was a series of tricks. Oh, clever tricks. Yes, I got away with them. I fooled you, but I did it for purposes of entertainment. I have used my 6 senses to produce the illusion of a 7th. And that works very well, I think. I'm being perfectly honest when I say that. So, next question.
Hello?
Hello?
My name is Marius, and I have to say it's a great pleasure having you here. My question is a simple question. I'm wondering what made you decide to become a debunker? I know you don't like the word, but I see that both you and your colleagues, Penn and Teller, are sort of in the debunking business. And was it a particular experience that made you decide to do what you do?
Okay, that's a very good question. I thank you for that. First of all, my expertise, knowing how tricks are done, was what led me to decide in my middle age that when I became 60, I would retire from being a magician and that I would take up the lecture circuit, which is what I'm doing now. But it's because I have that peculiar expertise. I know how the tricks are done. I was inspired by other people who did the same thing over the years, Maskelyne and Devant, Harry Houdini, other famous magicians who took up that battle themselves. And I made the decision because I got gratitude from people who are relieved of their delusions. They write to me every day, I swear, every day on email or in the post. I receive letters from people who start out, I hated you at first, and then I read your book, or something like that, and I changed my mind. That's a victory. It's a small victory, but it's a victory. And I get these just about every day, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm happy with what I've done, and I've made some lives an awful lot easier. And that brings me great satisfaction.
My name is Igor. I 100% subscribe whatever has been stated by you and whatever your lecture has been actually conveying to us. But don't you think that our brain actually has some kind of a evolutionary vestige of delusion? That some people just simply have it and you can't do anything about it. You cannot persuade them, you cannot prove mathematically, physically or medically that they are wrong. They just simply has it as a vestige of evolution, because our forefathers were actually believing in a world of magic, forest, or whatever is actually written in the fairy tales for children. For them, 200, 300 years ago, it was a world of the real.
Yes, I think you've got a good point there, but I've got to be very careful. I am not a professional, I'm not an academic, I'm a professional performer, a magician. I cannot declare on these things. Psychologists and psychiatrists are much more able to declare on these things, and I've spoken with them at great length all around the world. And I believe that there is a tendency for people to accept easy answers. They're not as difficult to handle, they're easy, they flow easily, and everybody agrees with them, and it's a lot easier for them to live that way. And I think it's a great pity. Now, I fight these things. I come out in the open and I fight these things. But that's my choice. And I don't ask it to be their choice. And by the way, I am not a debunker. I never accept that terminology. A debunker would be somebody who goes into an investigation and says, I'm sure this is fake, and I'm going to prove that it's a fake. No, I go into it and I say, I don't really know. I think I'll examine it and I'll find out. At the end of that, it may turn out to be a fake, and then I'm a debunker, but it never starts out that way. I don't accept that terminology, a debunker. I'm willing to be shown. I'm $1 million worth of willing to be shown, as a matter of fact. And that's serious.
Det var en ung mann som satt foran under røyking forbudt-skiltet der, og hadde opp hånden i stad. Ja, i grå genser.
My name's Eric. I'm a local. First of all, I'd like to thank you and your foundation for everything that you do. I love your videos on YouTube and everything. What my question is related to is vaccines and the practitioners of alternative medicines. You mentioned in your speech that they are combating the sale and propagation of modern vaccines. I'd like to know how you think that we can best stop them from preventing the sale of vaccines.
Well, first of all, again, I'm not a medical expert, you understand that. I only speak from what I have found out through examination of the evidence. And the anti-vaccine people are a very dangerous breed of people. We have noticed in the United States, and I've seen it happen in Europe as well, that things like whooping cough and various other, measles for example, in the United States has taken a huge leap. Vaccination was one of the single greatest discoveries of medical science. Vaccination has saved millions, not just thousands, tens of thousands, millions of lives all over the world for many generations now. And for these anti-vaccination people, who are mostly movie actresses and TV actresses who have all of this expertise, they're geniuses in this particular direction. They make these declarations and say that vaccine is leading to autism and such. I have my own ideas about that, and believe me, they're very, very serious objections to these movie stars and TV actresses saying that they have the expertise to tell. The anti-vax movement is a very dangerous movement, and it should be resisted and it should be acted against. So please take that advice. Your children need the protection of vaccination. It works.
Unnskyld, da har vi 2 spørsmål igjen, og det er de som kan stille de spørsmålene har fått mikrofonen. Etter det så må vi dessverre si stopp. Men det er en som sitter bakerst der, og så er det din tur, du som reiser deg. Beklager det.
Hi, I'm Pearl Erickson. I'm from Philippines, and it's so amazing with that video from Philippines. But sorry, I have 2 questions, and I'm so curious. You have been a magician around 60 years. Yeah, is that right? I'm just curious, who or what influenced you to be a magician?
Oh my, who influenced me? Well, for one thing, I was just with Richard Dawkins last week. He was in America visiting, and he came by to see me. That's my hero! I almost do the whole genuflecting thing. And I meet him, he said, no, on your feet. No, I very much admire people. Well, Christopher Hitchens is another hero. Richard Dawkins talk that I attended just about 10 days ago in the United States. He was asked about Christopher Hitchens, and Dawkins actually had tears in his eyes because Christopher Hitchens apparently has a terminal case of cancer, a very dreadful cancer. Though he's taking very, very advanced medication on this now, that may work. We certainly hope that it does.